going to be talking about two quarterbacks on today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports, that being Mac Jones and Geno Smith. Now, it's looking like a Mac Jones trade, even though over the last couple of months we have heard the 49ers do not want to trade him. Over the last couple of weeks, it's looking like a Mac Jones trade could very much be on the table. It was actually their athletic beat writer, Matt Barrows, saying stars are aligning for Mac Jones to be traded. He kind of hinted at a guy like Sam Darnold after he left the San Francisco 49ers, started with the Vikings, ended up winning a Super Bowl. Maybe a team like, I don't know, Cardinals, Vikings, Jets, for example, could take a chance on a guy like Mac Jones being the next Sam Darnold. So we'll talk about it here, but I do want to let you guys know we will be at the NFL Combine this week. So do not miss a thing and hit that subscribe button. We're going to have an exclusive Kevin O'Connell press conference here posted right on the channel. So do not miss it. Hit that subscribe button. We'll be asking Kevin O'Connell questions. So hit that subscribe button and also click that notification bell so you guys get notified every single time we post a video. All right, so I do want to kick it back to what Kyle Shanahan had to say about Mac Jones in a recent end-of-the-season press conference, as he says, you always listen to people with trade offers. We're also not getting rid of good players, so I'd be very surprised if Mac wasn't around us next season. So on the 49ers front here, they have all the leverage in this situation. Like, they really should not be too motivated to trade Mac Jones because they have, Brock Purdy still. That's their starter. That's their guy. They're not going to, move off Brock Purdy, obviously, but he has had a lengthy injury history. So they obviously value the backup quarterback position a whole lot, and also considering you're paying Mac Jones next season $4.2 million. That is unbelievable value. Like, you have the best backup quarterback in the league in Mac Jones for $4.2 million. The amount of teams that would take Mac Jones on that contract, I think it would be all 32 NFL teams. That was a steal of a deal. They got him from Jacksonville, signed him last year in free agency. So credit to John Lynch. That was an absolute great contract. So they have all the value here. He's on a one-year deal. They could also, after this season, they could let him walk for a potential comp pick, which normally quarterbacks sign pretty big contracts in free agency, so they could potentially get a third or fourth round comp pick for Mac Jones. So they're going to probably turn down every single trade offer for a third round pick. It's going to take at bare minimum a second round pick to pry Mac from the 49ers. And also, I love this from Mac Jones. He was talking about his time with the San Francisco 49ers, and he says, I really got a PhD in football this year, and I want to keep on getting better. So clearly, his time with the Patriots, his time with the Jaguars didn't compare to what he was seeing with the 49ers. Makes a bunch of sense. I mean, Kyle Shanahan has really been the OG QB whisperer here in the National Football League, but Mac Jones also said this, saying, I feel like they helped me get my swag back. At the end of the day, it's up to you to keep your swag, right? But to have Trent, everybody just backing me every day since OTAs when I first got here, I feel like people had their, opinions about me, or some people didn't know me or hadn't played with me before. And I just showed who I am, and I think they enjoyed playing with me. I enjoyed playing with them, and that's all you can ask. So Mac, obviously a very humble kid, well-spoken, but the one thing I do want to shut down, and I've seen a lot of Vikings fans throw this idea out there, saying, what if Mac Jones could just be our next Sam Darnold? I disagree with that statement. I don't think he would be. I just think he is so limited from just a physical standpoint compared to a guy like Sam Darnold that he wouldn't get there. Like Sam Darnold, 6'3", rocket arm, good mobility. Mac Jones, an extremely accurate, intelligent quarterback. His floor is a lot higher, but in my opinion, Mac Jones, if we brought him in, we would be bringing in another Kirk Cousins. So that era of Vikings football with Kirk Cousins at quarterback, I think that's what we'd be getting with Mac Jones. Could we randomly have a year where we win every one-score game like we did in 2022 and we win 13 games? Yeah, potentially. But I think at the end of the day, it will probably result in a 9-8, 10-7 season with maybe a playoff berth, but you're not going to go on a deep playoff run with a guy like Mac Jones or Kirk Cousins at the helm unless Kevin O'Connell changes his ways. If you tell me Kevin O'Connell is going to turn into Kyle Shanahan running the football and he is going to be downhill and maybe we drafted Jeremiah Love, drafted running back in the second or third round, and we completely change our offensive scheme, then maybe I would have a lot more interest in Mac Jones. But if you want to stick with what you've been doing over the last 4 seasons with KOC and you're just a straight drop-back passing team, throwing the ball 35, 40 times a game, I would not have too much interest in Mac Jones because I think it would just be limited the potential of our offense here in Minnesota. But you guys let me know. Do you want Mac Jones as QB1 next season? Give me a YFS or give me an N for no down below. Keep in mind, it's going to cost a second-round pick. They will not trade him for anything less. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comments section. All right, I do want to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is PrizePicks. Now, shoot your shot on PrizePicks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right. PrizePicks is now giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5. PrizePicks makes every dunk, every dime, and every board that much more exciting. So don't miss this chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks. And PrizePicks is super simple to play. All you got to do is just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in. Pick from all your favorite sports, anything from basketball, baseball, hockey, UFC, soccer, college basketball, tennis, golf, esports, and more. And they also have a new feature called early payouts. If your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. So find your community on PrizePicks with the new social feeds feature. You can share PrizePicks with your friends and copy lineups from winners with a single click. Just download the app today, plug in promo code CLNS, get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's show. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, Geno Smith, could he be an option for the Minnesota Vikings? You know, you see people always giving their QB predictions for every offseason. And I've been seeing Geno Smith floated out there a lot for Minnesota. I got mixed thoughts on this. But first off, culturally, who Geno is as a guy, absolutely not. Geno was a complete asshole this past season in Las Vegas. He was flipping off fans. He was bad for the locker room. He was just being a dickhead. I would have no interest in terms of Geno being a leader, being a guy that, you know, his teammates look at and be like, oh, yeah, we're going to war for Geno Smith. I don't think he's that guy. So the person he is, he's an asshole. I would not want him on the Minnesota Vikings. Schematically, though, on the field, Geno does make some sense. You want a traditional pocket passer who, if you have a clean pocket and you got weapons around him, who can be a good quarterback, which we have seen going back to his time with Seattle when they had some solid offensive lines. They had DK Metcalf, they had Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith. They have had good weapons. Geno has played some really good football. I mean, the year before he left, he went 10-7. Even though they missed the playoffs, they went 10-7. He played some clutch football in a lot of those games. So, schematically, with Kevin O'Connell's offense, it would make some sense. But this past season, Geno Smith was just flat out horrible. He was a turnover machine in Las Vegas. Now, if I want to play devil's advocate, Las Vegas probably had one of the worst wide receiver groups in the NFL and probably the worst offensive line in the NFL. They're flat out horrible. But still, 19 touchdowns, 17 picks, QBR of 34.2, not great. But back to Seattle, he was pretty good. It was last year in 2024, a touchdown to interception ratio, not fantastic. But he still threw for 4,300 yards. Incredibly accurate with the football, 70.4% completion percentage. But that 2022 season, maybe Kevin O'Connell thinks he could get him back to what he was in that year where he threw for 30 touchdowns and only had 11 interceptions. But in my opinion, this is just in the same bucket of Kirk Cousins and Mac Jones. I think, I'll probably do a full show on this, where it's we're talking about different tiers of Vikings quarterback options. If you want kind of the safe route, raise the floor, limit your ceiling, it's Kirk, Mac Jones, and Geno Smith. But Geno would be at the bottom of the barrel out of all those guys because of who he is as a person, who he is in the locker room. Absolutely not. I've talked with our Raiders guy a lot. This guy's an asshole. I would not want him on the football team, would not want him on the Minnesota Vikings. I would have a tough time rooting for this dude on Sundays if he was a quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins, absolutely I could root for Kirk. Mac Jones, absolutely I could root for Mac Jones. I also think the guys in the locker room would rally around those two more than they would Geno Smith. But if you guys made it to the end of today's show, hit me with those skulls down below in the comment section. We'll get on out of here. As always, Skol Vikes.